What is going on, guys? Tony3 Productions coming at you with another video. And today, I'm talking about Joker. Oh yeah. Sorry for the nightmares. So I saw this movie on Tuesday and been a little late getting a review up, but whatever. I want to give my thoughts on this movie because oh man. When I first heard this movie was announced, I, like a lot of other people, was pretty skeptical. Like a Joker origin story. Like an origin story for a character that doesn't really have an origin story. Like, in The Killing Joke, he said, "Sometimes I remember my past one way, sometimes I remember it another. I'd prefer it to be multiple choice." So when I heard they were doing this, I was like, I mean, that's interesting, I guess. I was intrigued, but I didn't know if I really wanted to see it. And then you hear that it's being directed by Todd Phillips. Todd Phillips, the director of the Hangover trilogy, and some other comedies that I honestly think look dumb and aren't up my alley. If you like them, whatever. And War Dogs, which I've never seen, but that's actually like the one movie of his that I think looks interesting, and after seeing this, I'm gonna go check it out. I saw The Hangover 1 and 2, wasn't a fan of the first one, so I just saw the second one because why not? And yeah, I obviously didn't like it. But I mean, they're interesting, like, as far as like the premise of a comedy goes, they're pretty interesting. So I at least figured he would do something interesting with it, but I didn't think it was gonna be good. And then Scorsese was attached as producer, maybe. I don't know. I've read some mixed things on that. And then, so a little while later, it's reported that Joaquin Phoenix is in talks to play the Joker. And everyone's like, well, Joaquin Phoenix is a great actor. I haven't honestly seen a ton of Joaquin Phoenix's movies. Shame on me, right? I should just like punch myself right in the face. But man, I am glad that he signed on to this thing because he is fantastic. I mean, this is really his movie. This is his movie, absolutely through and through. Yeah, he just gives like such such a nuanced performance. He's a guy that you very much feel bad for, but at the same time, you're scared of him because he's mentally unstable. And obviously, because this is a Joker origin movie, as the film goes on and on, obviously he becomes that character essentially. So you're watching him slip off the deep end even more. It's yeah, certain scenes in this movie had me like, what? Huh? What? Oh, we're gonna move on? Okay. Like, it was, oh man, he has this laughing condition, which is a real life thing. It's essentially like somebody laughs, but they don't want to laugh. Like, it just happens naturally, but like they could be, angry, sad, whatever. And there's this one scene, I'm not going to give any spoilers in the movie, obviously, but there's this scene, well, actually, there are a few scenes where he conveys, that's happening, but he's also feeling like sad or whatever. Masterclass performance. Everybody else is good too, but they don't have a ton of screen time. Robert De Niro does a pretty great job with what he has. It's cool to see him actually try in a movie, Between this and The Irishman, it seems like he's, getting back to his roots a little bit. He's, just actually making some movies, which is cool. Yeah, he plays this talk show host, Murray Franklin, who Arthur Fleck, Joaquin Phoenix's character, the Joker, Mr. J, is a big fan of, you know. And like he's, you know, wants to become a stand-up comedian too, kind of following his idol's footsteps, essentially, is what it seems like. And he's just so charming. Like he kind of reminds you of like David Letterman or like Jay Leno, that kind of a guy, you know, where like they, you know, like they start their show with these monologues, you know, like these jokey monologues, but he has some serious scenes too. Like the scene that you can probably imagine what it'll be from the trailers that he has with Arthur on the show. Oh man, they're both giving it their all, and like Robert De Niro, like he has this like presence about him. Like I don't really even know what I'm trying to say. I guess yeah, he really like you know, just like drops the whole thing and just talks to this guy, you know, like 100% seriously, and it's fantastic. You know, he didn't have a ton of screen time, but I mean, he's one of the all-time greats. So you know, give him a good script. It doesn't matter if he's in the movie for 10 seconds. He's gonna knock it out of the park. Zazie Beetz is good too. In the movie, even less than De Niro. Talking about her role any more than that, we'll be going into spoilers, and I'm not gonna ruin what happens with her whole plot line because it's shocking, and it actually brought me to tears. Like the implications that it has in the story, you know, like it was something that I can relate to. You know, I'm sure a lot of people that struggle with like mental illness and stuff, you know, loneliness and all that can relate to. Oh man, that was one of the best parts of the movie by far. The pacing of the movie is also great. It's a slow burn. You know, like it's kind of different than I thought it'd be in the trailers. Like the trailers make it seem, yeah, like a character study, but I guess a little more fast paced. But this movie really takes its time. You know, it just ramps up and ramps up and ramps up and ramps up and ramps up, and you know, through every dialogue scene, every character interaction, every plot beat, every twist and turn, it builds to a climax that was one of the most exhilarating things I've ever seen. The cinematography, as I'm sure a lot of people commented on the trailer, you know, saying that, you know, like the cinematography looks great, and you haven't seen anything yet. Like there are so many shots in this movie that look like they could be a comic panel. Like the lighting, the imagery, the way the camera moves, the everything. It's so like it just feels so classic. You know, and that was one of the big draws of the movie, is that it, you know, takes clear inspiration from early Martin Scorsese films, and it definitely feels like that. This is by far my favorite live action Gotham City. Like you see trash all over the place. It's gritty, it's dirty, it's grimy. There's graffiti everywhere, which a lot of comic book movies don't do. But that was a small detail that I appreciated because, you know, every city has graffiti, you know. I live in Reading, Pennsylvania, and I see graffiti pretty often, you know. So it's like, it's so cool that they got those kind of little details. Like it seems like a city that could easily produce like all this, you know, all the scum and villainy that Batman has to go up against and the GCPD has to go up against. You know, like yeah, it feels like a real city. Like it feels like a crime-infested piece of crap. The last point that I want to talk about is the score by Hildur. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, so I'll just put her name somewhere here. Ooh, there it is. Oh man, it's maybe my favorite score from a comic book film. And I know that's a big statement, but I really mean it. Like the movie hasn't been out that long, and I've already listened to this thing like 4 times. Like it's so great. Like it's, you know, like orchestral. You know, Hildur, the woman who produced it, is a violinist or cellist. So I mean, there's a lot of that in there. It just feels operatic. It just feels grandiose. It feels like the soundtrack to a tragedy, which the Joker's life obviously should be. You know, it just fits. Like it sets the mood so well. You know, I love one of the things I love about the DC films. Uh, I don't want to say more than the Marvel ones, but kind of like Marvel tends to use more like electronic sounds, and the DC movies do that too. Like Aquaman did it, Batman v Superman did it, but like they've always like you look at the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, and they were like orchestral and big, and this brings me back to that. So yeah, my those are my thoughts on the movie. In closing, I just want to say that if you're even a little bit curious about seeing this thing, I would absolutely say go see it. Go see this movie. It's oh man, just thinking about it just makes me happy because like, I talk a lot about wanting more comic book movies that are like films, like that don't have to be connected to a big universe, that are just like standalone character pieces, that, have the gravitas, of the Nolan movies, of Shazam to an extent, of, the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, stuff like that. I want comic book movies to go in that direction now, Endgame came out, I love the MCU, but going forward, I'm more interested in what DC's doing because they seem to be doing stuff like this. And Todd Phillips, the director, had pitched a label called DC Black, which is basically like a label of like standalone DC movies that are like this. WB, if you have any intelligence at all, you will do that because I want to see it. A lot of other people want to see it, and it would be great. All right, so those are my thoughts on Joker. I hope you liked the video. Leave me your comments on the movie down below, and I will see you next time. Peace.